This is not a formal Zoom meeting. Please get out of work mode. This is the end of the week. This is a poetry session. This is an artist space.
Death has become the norm. I saw an elderly couple at the lake the other day. They awed in amazement at the sight of ducklings, turtles, and fish interacting with human life. The sky and clouds, the illustration says, "Worship me." We all stood there and had a moment, looking forward, and there was a mutual agreement in spirit that said, "We gonna be all right." But I'm not all right. I was driving, and in the distance, I saw a bird, thinking, surely this bird will fly away. It didn't move. I slowed down. This bird was fighting to live, and it seemed I was the only car to slow down. Death has become the norm. I hear birds now, before the break of dawn, happy, singing, reminding me of hymns my grandmother would sing. The birds make me feel closer to God, to myself, as one. But sometimes there's just no concept of reality, playing ourselves to be unaware, praying ourselves into more confusion. Death has become the norm. A few Sundays ago, I broke down. I broke down sobbing, a plead in my cry as I couldn't find a sound to mask the intensity of the tears I let out. I let it out. I needed human interaction and affection. The day before, my nephew and I, we danced to Can't Stop the Feeling. We danced the entire song. And out of the blue, he hugs me real tight. And in this thought, I broke down. Grateful, agony, and joy balled in my throat. I cry, deeply understanding the universe got my back with giving me exactly what I needed, a hug. Death has become the norm. There's an unspoken agape. People are a little kinder. People in my building speak to me more. The white people actually speak now. And I question if we relate because death. We have something in common. A few doors down, a neighbor decided to display Psalms 91, handwritten on a roll of toilet tissue. I couldn't find tissue for weeks. Now I'm stuck in between the Bible and my needs, inspiration and need, false convictions and need. This is what I need, and yet a Christian taunts me, tricks me into thinking Jesus will protect me. Death has become the norm, and sometimes I gotta rationalize that my fate is determined by people who don't know me, probably wouldn't even speak to me if we walked down the same grocery store aisle. And some days I gotta reason with myself about the country I live in and how many times are they gonna tell me no just for existing. I thought about that elderly couple today. The ducklings, the lake. We shared a moment, but I think, what if they knew I was trans? Would this moment even happen? What if there was a label on me saying that? Would they ignore the ducklings just to ignore me? In that moment, we were connected through spirit, animals, and nature. We made love. We made God. Death has become the norm. Murdering us, murdering God, murdering you. That's it.
Wow.
I can't hear you.
That was very powerful.
That was beautiful.
You knew what I was saying.
Yeah, nobody else was doing anything, so I thought, well, maybe I shouldn't say anything.
No, that was awesome. Gosh. You couldn't see. I don't know which view you have on. You got some snappy things.
Oh, yeah.
You got some people saying thank you. You did it. You did that. Anybody have anything? What was the first thought that struck you when she said death has become the norm?
I think it was one of those like harsh awakenings of like, yeah, probably. You know, and in a way it's sad, but in a way I think that's part of humanity. It's part of being human, is that death is inevitable, and it is a part of our everyday life, and it is something that we actually can find a unity and like camaraderie in, which is why in crisis we tend to come closer. It doesn't matter what kind of crisis, it just always happens that way. And then oddly, I feel like becomes something that we remember fondly once we get through the trauma of it. Because it was this break from our, I don't know. I just think it can be important to focus on the role that death and tragedy and crisis play in our lives. And I think what Ash's spoken word, I guess, did was kind of call that to light. So way to go. That was very vulnerable, 2 parts of that. So props to you.
Anybody else? No. All right. Well,
I'll just say I love the emotion. I mean, and the way you told that versus, and I'm not a good storyteller, so I appreciate that.
Thank you.
So it's very beautiful. Well done.
Yeah, I love the imagery of it, and I just love the juxtaposition of the psalm being written on the toilet paper.
And you trapped between God and your needs, like, girl.
Brilliant.
This is a true story.
Yes.
It's still out there. I was like, do I need to jack this? Do I need to jack this right now? Tear this off? Because I don't have any tissue.
Just need a square. Just need a square.
And it's so weird because some people will be like, this is exactly what I want to do with a song. Like, yes.
Right.
I love people's right to have a reaction to religion and a feeling and I wrote a piece a long time ago, and I had to make it clear. Your belief doesn't impugn my belief. I can respect your belief without losing my belief. I don't have to participate in what you believe in. And you don't have to participate in what I believe in, because my God is God to me, you know? And he's still going to be my God, whether he's God to you. So I love that freedom that you have to put that, and that freedom that you have to express that, and this freedom that the other person has to really sit down and write songs on toilet paper. So we won't get into that. Okay. Everybody has their way of proselytizing. All right. Y'all ready for the next poem?
Yes.
Okay. So the other person who had previously volunteered to share a piece, she is not on screen right now. Oya, are you still blessing us tonight? Oya. Type at me. Nope. Okay. Well, I see her name, but I don't hear her. It could be internet stuff going on. So we'll hold off. What I will do in the interim is offer a prayer. And for me, prayers are not written. So this is just what I feel. So prayer/rant, but that's the way I talk to God anyway. Okay. So I will say, Father, forgive me because I'm judgmental. Who do these people think they are, that they do nothing, that they have this right to do nothing, that they see things falling apart and they still keep their habits and are indignant when I ask them to change, as if the things I have given up meant nothing to me, as if when I changed, it wasn't hard, as if the work I do doesn't break my heart every day, that when I pay attention to what happens to the animals and the dying of the plants and the sickness of our earth, like it doesn't make my soul despondent, like it doesn't overwhelm me, but they can sit back and do nothing and still live here, or for the back of my work and the work of thousands and millions of others, of people who I have never seen, and people that I will never meet, and people who have died way too young, and people who have fought for trees because it made up their villages, and people who have bled bloody deaths after being harassed for half their lives because they fought for their communities, and after people changed their entire way of life to support bills and measures to get pushed through. And now you can't even get up off the couch and get your eyes off of a TV screen long enough to make sure that those bills and measures don't get thrown out. You can't even write your name on a petition? God, how do I look these people in the eye and ask them kindly to participate? How do I look them in the eye and not tell them that they sicken me and that they are the problem? How do I remember that I'm a part of a problem in some other field of life and keep myself humble? Because right now, this is all encompassing in my life. And how do they not see it? I just want to act enraged and tell everybody who is not cooperating to move around and go somewhere and sit down and be quiet. Stop using up the resources. Take up a little corner of the earth and destroy that and leave the rest to us who are trying to do something for the betterment of it. But I don't have that right because I'm not God. And if I choose to follow God, I have to follow your example. And for every time that you give me grace, in a moment where I didn't understand, in a lifetime of my wrong teachings and my wrong actions, in my irresponsibilities and in my lazinesses, where you gave me another chance, or you had somebody carry me, or you had something given to me that I didn't deserve. You forced me, if I'm truly a follower of you, to do better, to be better. And sometimes I'm the angriest at you for giving me so much grace because now I have to show it to others when I'd rather just rage at them. Because then at least I could make somebody else feel the way I feel every day. Hopeless, helpless, confused, and overwhelmed. But caught in this corner of having to do something because something needs to be done. So God, in the face of not being able to do anything, in the face of not being able to cuss everybody out, instead, tell me what I need to do so that I can see an impact and not feel useless in the way I spend my time. So I don't take out that frustration on the people who just don't know, on the people who have other things to care about, on the people whose lives I really have no inkling of what they go through. It helped me to remember that I was not always the person I am now, that I once did not know. Help me to be better on purpose, and most of all, help me to be better by accident. Because if you trust me to do it, I'll get it wrong. So for another day, give me your grace. Amen. So, y'all quiet again.
Perhaps dumbstruck. Like, that's your riffing? I just wanted to hold like a little container and catch every word and apply it later as a balm to my heart and my mind and my frustration. So, yeah, beautiful.
Thank you. I think it's very egotistical to speak on my own prayer, but y'all ain't talking to me. Thank you, Kim. One of the ways I've remained sane in my entire life is learning to talk to God just like that, like whatever is in my heart, because I'm not a good liar. So trying to hide from God ain't gonna work for me. Anybody have?
I like that you have that relationship, and I think I know for myself, I always talk to God in a certain way because of how I was taught, and then it became more personal, and then it was more like a conversation. And so just being able to hear you and being so vulnerable in your thoughts and in your feelings and with what's going on. So it's a beautiful thing to witness. And I it was a part in there, and when you said I'm not, like I'm not God. And I always like to think about how much we say that we're not God. And then there are times when I think in every sense that we are, because of all the things that are bestowed upon us. And not saying that we can just make all these miraculous changes, but even like this, in bringing this together and all of this, in that being God. So yeah, that's all.
Yeah, no, I think you tapped into a lot. You put words to a lot of, I think probably, I don't really know anyone in this group, but the frustrations of all of us. And I think what's hard at, well, just me as a person of faith, finding sometimes the biggest opposition to things I'm passionate about within my fellow faith community. And it's just like, oh, guys, come on, what are you doing? And I loved when you said, something to the effect of like, God, as much as you give me grace for when I don't understand, help me to give grace to people when they don't understand what I'm passionate about. Or not everyone has spent ungodly amounts of time reading news articles on eco climate things like I have over the years, because that's just what I'm interested in, but not everyone has. And so, but it's hard to have grace when you're like, this seems like the most obvious thing in the world to me, why can you not just and it's like, well, because I don't know their lives and I don't know their stories. And I certainly have totally missed the ball on many things in my life that God has given me grace for. And that was a good check for me to just be like, not that I'm going to not still advocate for what I believe in, but doing it with grace instead of anger, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really convicting, but in a good way for me.
I agree. I think that's a message, all of us that are working for, whether it's environmental justice or social justice or any other advocacy, need to bring to the table and can help a lot. I mean, when we bring our history and our pain and, for lack of a better term, hatred on somebody else, it's very difficult to move people. And in fact, you're just pushing them away. So I appreciate the Dallas to kind of remind us of that.
Thank you. Thank you guys for that.
Me 15 years ago, and we need to do a roundtable. Have you already done roundtables, Dallas?
What, in here?
Yeah, Lauren had mentioned she didn't know anybody, and I don't know half the people, or I don't know anybody on this thing except for Bill, you and Bill. So I love it, and Michelle.
Yeah, I was gonna do that at like around 7:30, but we can do it a little bit earlier because people are still coming in. Hey, Jason, welcome. No, I did want to do that. Hey, Michelle. Oh, she's saying she can't show us where she is right now. Um, thank you. So we'll kick it off. So roundtabling with my bad drumming. But I do, before we start the roundtabling, I just want to hear Mary's voice.
Hello. How are you?
Well, how are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Okay. And Bill, I see you over there too. Okay, so roundtabling is little check-in. You can give a name. This is a poetry session. You don't have to give your real name. Feel free on that, right? That's number one. Number two, what's a question that we can ask for tonight? How about, what would your reaction be if you saw a duck? I'm definitely using your imagery, Ash. If you saw a duck and a possum fighting in the middle of the road. Yes, silliness is the call for the hour. What would your reaction be if you saw a duck and a possum fighting in the middle of the road? That's it. All right, so let's start with Kim. Can you still talk to us? Or is your connection that bad?
I can.
Okay.
So my name is Kim. I'm calling in from Red Springs, North Carolina, down here in Lumbee country. And if I saw a duck and a possum fighting in the middle of the road, I would ask them, are you not aware that you are doubling your chances for extinction? Because A, you fighting, and B, you in the middle of the road. Like, what? Come on, man. At least take it to the side. That's all I got. Captain, glad to be here.
It was the silliest thing I could think of. You did great. All right. Jason, I see you setting up. Thanks for joining us. I'll give you another few seconds. I won't call you out right now. Okay. Lauren.
Okay. Hi, I'm Lauren. I found out about this through Charlotte, but I have talked, I think, to Rick and Dallas once, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of getting involved and then it was like, oh, COVID, never mind, let's shut everything down. So looking forward to.
Yeah, we talked on the phone now that I remember, Lauren. I apologize. Yeah, we didn't get to see each other. This is our first time pseudo in person. So that's great.
Anyways, if I saw I'm in Greenville, South Carolina, I forgot to say that. If I saw a duck and a possum fighting, I would go help the duck kick the possum's ass. Can I say that? Because possums are gross and ugly and ducks are cute, and I would want to say that. Oh, Mary was very offended by that. I'm sorry, Mary. I think possums are scary. I don't know what I've said. I apologize.
We got a duck lover in here.
And a possum lover.
You a possum lover? Okay. Hey, Erica. We're just doing some check-ins. Okay. Okay. Rick, go ahead. What would you do if you saw a duck and a possum fight in the middle of the
Well, I'm
road?
not sure what I'd do. I'll introduce myself first. I'm the executive director of Sustaining Way here in Greenville, South Carolina. What would I do? I have a 14-year-old son, so the first thing I would do would be hollering for him to come say, "Hey, hey guy, come out and see the duck and the possum fighting," because that would be the highlight of his day. So that's it.
And Mary, I want to hear your voice again.
Hi, Mary. I'm actually in Pensacola, Florida.
Nice.
And what I would do if I saw a duck and a possum, I'd have to break it up. I'd have to break up the fight and save both of them. Yeah, it's just the whole animal advocacy thing. Gotta save them animals. So that's what I would do. And possums are so good for the environment. They eat ticks and stuff like that. So just throwing that out there. Okay.
And okay, so Jason, who I've been calling Jason, I usually know as Max Lit. And only because you turned on the light, I've seen you. So this whole time I didn't know who you were.
Yeah. I couldn't figure out why it was so dark. And so there's a lamp on my desk. So I was like, that might work. So there you go.
Please introduce yourself.
I'm Max Lit, poet, writer, and probably like the rest of us trying to figure out our way through all of this madness that we're experiencing now. So hoping that everything that we're experiencing right now turns into great things as individuals and as entrepreneurs and as humans.
And what would you do if you saw a duck and a possum fighting in the middle of the road? This is an important question.
I would hope that I would have been in a car and just keep driving. Because I really don't know about a lot of people had information on what each animal is to our environment. I'm not that versed in that. So I would hope the duck would win and wish for the best.
They be hating on them possums, people.
Possums are scary, but I heard they make good soup. So I don't know. That's what some people say who eat possums. I don't know, I would never eat a possum soup or anything like that, but that's what I've heard.
Not that you know of. I tell you right now, you live in the South.
I honestly know that I've never had possum soup.
He's
I think I would know if I did.
Mm.
I would hope that I would know that if I did.
That's a better way to think about it.
All right.
Ash, please introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Ash. Yes, I'm poet, writer, community organizer. I live in Gastonia, North Carolina, but I do my advocacy work back in the upstate where I'm from, Spartanburg. Let's see, to answer your question, first thing I'm gonna do is take out my phone and I'm recording the whole thing. And and then I may try to break it up, but if it seems like they're about to get me too, I'm just gonna let them be. Yeah, and I've had a one-on-one with a possum once, but I wasn't afraid, and yeah, it got in the house. And,
Oh, see?
yeah, it got in the house, and it was an interesting experience. That's all I'm gonna say. but he got out though.
Okay.
So he got out. Yeah,
You both got out alive.
Yeah, my uncle were feeding a family that had lived under the house. So that's how the possums got in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, to each their own. And Graciela, also known, well, I won't call you out of how I know you from a billion years ago. Introduce yourself.
My name is Graciela, and what was the question? Oh, who am I? I am a Reiki master. I am a intuitive healing guide. I am a Thai yoga masseuse. I am a body painter, intuitive body painter, intuitive tribal face and body painter. I'm a ceremonialist. I run new moon, full moon ceremonies. We just had a new moon. And what else? I am a musician. I play the Native American flute. And I think that's that's about it. And about the opossum and the duck? So if I saw a possum in the duck, I'm definitely with Ash. I would definitely take out my phone. I also would I am very nosy. I want to see everything. So I would just try to get up as close as I could, and I would definitely start talking to them because I talk to trees, I talk to everything. So I would be like, "Hey, no!" what are you doing? No, be friends. And hopefully they wouldn't come and attack me. And yeah, I'm not scared of. I'm also like the other sister that said that she's a vegetarian. I'm a vegan, so I also know eating opossums for me. No opossum. Even though when I was in China, I don't know what the heck I ate because they told me it was tofu, but I don't know. But yeah, so that's me.
That is awesome. And we have one more. Thank you. And you have grown so much since I last saw you. Thank you for blessing us for coming out tonight. Michelle, can you talk to us? No talking for Michelle? Okay, I can chat. Okay. If you want to answer the duck and possum question, there is a purpose behind it. But Michelle Peden is a wonderful, wonderful spirit. She lives up in North Carolina. She does amazing work on behalf of the climate and the environment, and just a great support and activist. Had the pleasure of meeting her at Southeast Faith Leaders Network last year. So Michelle, if you wanted to answer that, I'll read your chat. But before we move on, because it is time to move on with another poem, somebody sent their words in from us because they had to work. If you think about your reaction to the duck and opossum fight, I want you to ask yourself, is that your reaction to seeing conflict in general?
Mm.
Y'all didn't expect that, did you? Did you?
Not at all.
I felt that you were gonna go that way after the fact, and I was like,
Really, I didn't know until it happened, but definitely was no plan. But it's a good question. Anybody thinking about it now is saying, yeah, that's generally my reaction. Like either I'm gonna go point this out to somebody, I'm gonna record it for later viewing, I'm gonna get all up in the details, find out what's going on. Oh, I didn't tell you what my reaction would be. My reaction would have been get up all up in the details, not necessarily filming it, right? But I would have expected them to be fighting over food. Like I would have been looking for the food involved. like this can only happen because there's food. Nothing else is gonna matter enough for anybody. And so like if you like Lauren, would you think that that would be your reaction in general to help to jump in and help one side?
Probably. I would probably. I feel like I go back to like little kid Lauren in elementary school. And I don't think I really would like insert myself into like an active fight, but if there was someone who I perceived as being the one bullied, I would definitely like be their buddy, be their friend, and sass off that. Oh, I did actually. There was a possum kid in my 4th grade class, and he tortured all the girls, and I pinched him until he went away. And that was like my usefulness to my 4th grade class was pinching. So maybe that's how I handle conflict. I don't know. But yeah, I guess I do. I tend to stick up for like who I perceive as the weaker one. So
That's awesome.
I realized that until you posed that question. So
yeah, let's think about that going forward. You know, tonight isn't just about hearing beautiful words. It's about tapping into our spirit and making sure that we're aware of how we move in this work in this earth. You know, there was no wrong answer presented to that question, but be aware that that is the pattern that you're giving in your life. And is that an appropriate reaction, right, for every situation? So thank you guys for participating wholeheartedly in that bit of silliness. Bill Bradley said he had to go. He thanked us for hanging out with him and giving him a good break because he's still working. Right now, we have a poet introduced to us by Kim. His name is Christopher Hewitt, right? And unfortunately, we have to hear his words in my voice because he's working. But he went ahead and made sure that he submitted tonight because it meant a lot to him. And his words are, melodies long forgotten, sung by mockingbirds, disillusioned responsibility recycled with cans, maliciously meditating on Mother Earth's pain, faithfully marching backwards. Still, I can't breathe. Polluted minds and unfertilized thoughts, displaced lands cry for justice in their native tongue. Long live the melodies of freedom that were once forgotten. Right? Yeah. I liked it. I liked it. I liked it. Any thoughts for Christopher that I should share with him?
can you read that last line or last like 2 lines again?
Absolutely. I'm going back up to one I really liked. Oh.
That's fine.
Prerogative. Host prerogative. Polluted minds and unfertilized thoughts. Displaced lands cry for justice in their native tongue. Long live the melodies of freedom that were once forgotten. Yo, he hit.
He said a lot in a very small, short passage. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. It's like he said, look, I'm going to hit y'all over the head with this. We could read this 4 times, and I think every line would just be like, boom. He told us we faithfully marching backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
There ain't no words. There ain't no words. You know what? I'm gonna tell him that. I'm gonna be like, you left them speechless. That is what I will report to Mr. Christopher.
Yeah.
All they ask for is, can we hear that a part of that again? If y'all want to hear it again, I'm down for reading it. That thing was beautiful. I was so honored to receive that one.
Yeah, I would love to hear it again.
Yeah, I agree.
This is short.
Okay, and I'll read it even slower. Melodies long forgotten, sung by mockingbirds. Disillusioned responsibility recycled with cans. Maliciously meditating on Mother Earth's pain. Faithfully marching backwards. Still, I can't breathe. Polluted minds and unfertilized thoughts. Displaced lands cry for justice in their native tongue. Long live the melodies of freedom that were once forgotten.
Word. Yeah. Indeed.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Hopefully he'll like get on at like 7:52 or something, and we would just be like, "Yo, you are mega." But yeah, I will tell him that you guys were absolutely speechless. Okay, so I'm tired of hearing my voice. So we have two other contributor artists, poets that I know are in this room, right? Graciela, were you able to have time to come up with something for us? Maybe you're going to sing us the song.
Peace, everyone, again. I'm still getting like, I don't know, tremors from that last poem. That was so deep. That's so beautiful. I didn't write anything.
Okay.
I just been really busy and things have been coming up. It's so interesting. I feel like I'm like more busier now at home than I was when I was working. But what I do, I'm just gonna just let out whatever comes out if that's cool with y'all, just to like free flow.
Yeah.
So I just don't mind me. When I close my eyes, I kind of just go within. But I do have a song that I'm gonna tie this to somehow. So it's gonna work. It's gonna work. Bear with me. It's gonna be great. Pachamama, Pachamama. We hear your divine sacred pause. You have put us in a divine sacred pause. We were so busy being distracted. We did not hear your cries. We did not feel the burning of your lungs until it hit ours. Until we could not breathe. That is when we needed to take a divine sacred pause. Knowing that we are divinely connected to you, Pachamama, Mother Tierra. If you are not right, neither are we. We have to stop feeling that we are not connected. What we do affects it, not only us, but you as our mother, our mother, our mother Pachamama. Our mother is crying. Our mother cannot breathe. Our mother needs our help. Can we stop? Can we stop thinking of only ourselves? She provides us with everything. She teaches us divine sacred lessons to plant our seeds of our thoughts into the deep, dark soil of our wombs, of our minds. fertilizing them, creating deep roots so they can grow exponentially towards the light. What are the seeds that we have been planting? Are they flowers? Are they trees? Or are they toxic to our very being and need to be pulled out like weeds? Why, old woman, you've been gone too long. Why, old woman, don't forget your song. Let your blood drip down your veins for your culture. You will reclaim. Be still and let your ancestors speak. They will show you what it is you think. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not much of a clapper. I'm just going to say great job. That was beautiful. Thank
That
you.
was really beautiful.
Thank you.
I was reminded of I'm like a bit of a Bible nerd because I'm a preacher's kid, so I grew up having to read the Bible all the time. But there, ancient Israel, how the law declared that the land was supposed to have rest every 7 years, and then every 50 years, like just a massive, we don't do anything this entire year, rest, and all the debts were repaid, and it was supposed to be a resetting of the land and the fertile ground and of their lives. And God kind of told them, like, hey, if you don't do this, I'm gonna do it for you. And sure enough, they took things into their own hands, and generations and generations and generations go by of them not giving any rest to the land, and not obeying what God instructed them to do. And so then the nation was taken into captivity for 70 years, and all it says is like, and the land had rest. And I, like, ever since just all of this started, I've just been feeling like, God and earth and just the cycle of nature that we've been trying to ignore and just suppressing was like, nope, we're gonna take a rest, and we're gonna force y'all to take a rest if you're not gonna do it. And it, not to say that anything, not to say this virus is good or a blessing or from God or anything like that. I don't believe that, but I do believe that in ways, I think things like this are going to keep happening if we don't just listen to the earth's cry of rest and treatment. And so I just felt like everything you were saying was just, I felt like you tapped into that cry. And I mean, you're so right that, we need that cycle of rest, and it's been forced on us now, but I hope that this just, I mean, as a culture, that we learn that this is something that is needed and shouldn't have to take like a pandemic for us to do, right? Like really shouldn't have to take that. So that was just what I thought when you shared that. It was beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. I mean, that's great. I love, like, I actually never read the Bible. I actually grew up in a Jewish household. So that's awesome. I love that knowledge. Oops. Sorry, my phone is about to die. I'm about to plug it in. Sorry. But yeah, that's so great, because I love to have that connection, because I believe in all holy scriptures there is wisdom in everything. So that's really awesome. Beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
When you started talking about your mom, the mother, I started picturing, if this was my actual mother, if we treated our mothers the way we treated the earth, and she needs help, oh man, I was ready to cry. I was hurt, and she is a mama. She does take care of us. I don't think that changes across any faith tradition. You can't take that away. And you have this earth that births and holds us and cradles us and provides sustenance for us. And we're just like really terrible children who just kick and spit and bite and have no respect for her needs. And it's just, yeah, you made that really clear. And then at the end, when you was like, listen to what we're saying, like, ooh, don't make me listen to what we're actually saying with our words and our actions. Oh, you brought the pain, girl. Thank you.
Well, I don't know if I don't know if I wanted to bring pain, but
You convicted me in my spirit. That's painful sometimes. Okay. Anybody else? Ash says divine sacred pause. Yes, yes, sounds like a mantra. Yes.
Actually, can I also share just my flute, my native flute? Would you?
Please. Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna grab it, but I was like in the middle, so I was like, ah. All right, I've been like holding this, so let me just put this up here. Okay. Let me know if with a thumbs up or something if you can hear me, because I don't know if it works. Like this.
Mm.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was awesome.
You guys are amazing. Wow. I didn't know what
That
I
was
was going on to. I was just trying to be here because of Dallas. I wanted to support her.
I felt like I was in the forest training with Yoda, trying to be a Jedi.
Yoda's
No, I'm
my
serious, man. That
favorite.
took me right to the Jedi forest on that one. It really did.
God, that's so dope.
You leveled him up.
Word, like what was it, Return of the Jedi when they were on Endor? That's where that took me. It really did.
Oh, that's beautiful. I give thanks for that. Thank you.
I give thanks for you.
I'm sorry.
I give thanks for you in developing and sharing your gifts like that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
That is truly a gift.
Actually, can I just sorry, can I just say one thing? Because people always ask me after I play, they're like, oh my gosh, how long have you been playing? And I'm sharing this because I think it's important, especially right now, for all of us to know, like, I've only been playing this since August. I've never picked up a flute ever in my life before.
Wow.
And the reason why I started playing was because I literally heard Spirit tell me, Graciela, you need a flute. Graciela, you need a flute. And I was like, what? Like, you tripping. like I don't need a flute. Like, I don't even know how to play a flute. Like, what are you talking about? Like, and then I learned to surrender to, that guidance and to listen. And so I did, and I went to a powwow that I normally always go to anyways if I can. And I went, and I know this brother that sells flutes, and I got a flute from him. And I came home. I live with like a house full of like real musicians, like trained Juilliard, like legit. And I was just like, doo-doo-doo-doo. And they're like, wait, what? like, where have you been hiding this? And I'm like, ah. And so I'm just sharing that to let you know that, especially in this divine sacred pause, I think it's really important that we listen. What is coming up to you? What is spirit telling you? What is it that you really are desiring? And try not to judge it. Try not to ignore it. Even if in your mind, I was like, what do you mean a flute? Like, what, you know? And I had to also kind of like check in, like, what kind of flute? Like, I had no idea. But then it just came very clear to me, and it was like this. It wouldn't stop, like, you know. And I feel like a lot of us do things. Let me just speak for myself. I have done in the past that, you know, I was told to do, or I thought was okay, or I thought was right, or, you know, for whatever reason. And like my job, like I had to go get XYZ kind of job and do this and do that. And then finally, when I really started listening to my heart, and I not thinking about the outcomes, like, and I don't know, for the better or for the worse, like I just knew that spirit had me, like whatever you all call it, God, Jesus, whatever, like I just say spirit. And you know, I knew that I was okay, and I was protected no matter what. And I quit my job, play my flute, like do all these things. And you know, most people would think I'm crazy, like what's wrong with you? But you know, I'm just encouraging all of us, because I believe that we all can tap into our highest, you know, calling. And a lot of time, because of fear, we stop that. And I know for me, when I was not listening to it, I was very depressed. I was not healthy mentally, all different kinds of stuff. So I feel that if I could leave you with anything and to link it to the earth, is that when we listen to ourselves, we are also, when we tap into our alignment, we're also being in harmony with the earth and with our surroundings, and knowing that it's not just us, we're in this together. Like we really are. We're so much more connected than we can even imagine, to the trees, to the land, to the animals. And yeah, so that's, I just wanted to share that.
You just had a preacher moment, girl.
Well, I could just sit here and listen to everybody the whole night.
Yeah. Well, our Zoom call won't let us do that.
I know that. That's all right.
But I know poets well enough to let there be a few extra minutes past 8. So, Erica, I cannot, Graciela, as you are preferring now, thank you from the bottom of my heart for teaching us, for feeding us. That was more than I ever thought, imagined, expected, could have hoped for. Bless you for blessing us. Really and truly, blessings on your road, your path, strength for
Thank
your
you.
path. Like, keep going and being that inspiration. You've made me want to do better and listen better. Thank you. I want to read Michelle's thing, and I also want to invite, I know Max, you said you wouldn't have time, but you are. He is a poet that I met because I actually listened to his work and bought his book because I listened to his work. I listen to a lot of poems, right? And I go out, but I don't always buy the book. So,
I appreciate that.
yeah. So if you have anything that you wanted to share, you're more than welcome. Okay. So let me read Michelle's thing real quick, because I want to honor that, even though she had to step out. And she says something very good in here. She said, she lives in Durham. She's an activist, musician, voice and a little piano, a dancer. And what I loved is she said she's a listener and a friend. And she said that to the duck and opossum, she would be the mama bear and tell them to break it up and try to protect the duck. What's up with these people protecting the ducks? I don't see how vicious those bills can be. Like, come on. But I just wanted to point out that she took the time to acknowledge that an important part of her essence in this world is being a listener and a friend. So I thank her in her absentia. So I'm going to turn it over to Max.
All right, thank you. I initially, life gets in the way. A lot of stuff has been happening. And when I initially saw the invite, I was like, yeah, great. I'll definitely do that. And then, I'm a person who, my email inbox is like 9,000 unread emails. Most of it's junk mail. Messenger is the same way. So like people look at my phone and they're like, you don't feel a certain way about all those numbers of unread notifications are there. And I'm like, it's just how it is. So when I saw your message today, I was like, oh, I don't know if I have any material for that. But in my book that you purchased, Soul Therapy, a collection of works inspired by the life of me, Max Litt, there was, as I read your description of what you guys were looking for today, it talked about responsibility towards the earth and religion and spirituality and things like that. And I think as poets and writers, regardless of what our religious beliefs may be or our spiritual road may take us, we're all connected spiritually one way or another. And I have an interesting relationship with religion. I grew up a Jehovah's Witness, believe it or not. And when I tell that story, everyone's like, what? And I'm like, yeah. But as I got older and, I experienced certain things, one of the things that my parents and people that I hold in high esteem always taught me was like, there's not one way of knowing anything. And when it comes to religion and spirituality, that is expounded upon exponentially, because there's really no one way to know God. So I had this piece in my book, and I'm trying to find it. I thought I had a bookmark, but I guess I didn't. But it just kind of talks a little bit about that journey, as far as trying to find my own spirituality, but kind of respecting what I was taught. And just here we go, got it. So it's called, the title of it is God to a Non-Believer. I believe in God, but I no longer believe what I was taught. I believe what I was taught was perverted by imperfections that we can't control. We can't help but be imperfect. And fear of displeasing an entity that we can't see, like a swoop in the sky looking down on us from a lofty position, watching us as we try not to be human, well, that's almost an unimaginable fear. But people close to me live like that. Some live like they can't escape the past, born again each week as they attend church or whatever religious service they call theirs, because God knows their heart. God knows my heart too. And my heart can't take another Facebook Christian fronting like God is their witness when God witnesses them blaspheming through status updates and preceding comments, posting pictures of themselves in the club, but none of them in the church. I can't take it. I can't take family members saying they love God, Jehovah, Yahweh, Jesus, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, but can't send an email in response to the one I sent them, telling them that I love them and say, I love you too, I never stopped. I hopped on the train with the intent of letting God direct my steps, but God showed me something right before he showed me that my steps were crooked. He showed me everyone else's steps are as well. I've sat up in churches of other religions and learned more in 1 hour than I've ever learned at the spot that my mother goes to. The same place where I went to for almost 20 years, because I saw heirs of those familiar to me, but none on those that didn't know me. You see, it's never the strangers that disappoint you. It's those close to you that surprise you, shaking your hand with one hand and seemingly hugging you with the other, but soon you know their intent because you feel the sharp pain almost unidentifiable at first, but then comes the twist of the knife in your back that you thought was supposed to be faith in your fellow man, in your brother of the same cloth, in your sister of the same womb, of your friends that you never saw as enemies, because enemies often walk as wolves, but just as often humbly move about as sheep. So what's a sheep to a wolf? Or better yet, what's a wolf in sheep's clothing? To a sheep who thought they were dealing with an actual sheep with the flock. What is a shepherd to a sheep that thought the shepherd was leading him home, only to find that the shepherd led them to a den of wolves along the pathway to righteousness? See, those are the type of things I wasn't taught to expect as a child from those who were supposed to be shepherds. I learned these things as a naive teenager, precocious in some ways, but none in the ways that would have prepared me for heartbreak and betrayal, handed down by two of the closest people to me at the time. At the same time, so the identifying mark that my religious instructors told me people of our cloth had, I no longer saw in them. I felt fooled, foolishly led astray by those who said they loved me, by those who said they cared, by those who said they were men of God. But even men of God can be vessels of Satan. So where does that leave the believer who believed blindly in something that even their parents believed in, that all their friends believed in, that leaves them on the outside looking in when human inclination and youthful tendency leads them to submit to their fleshly desires, or when they find themselves in the arms of a non-believer, finding what they could not find in vessels that claim to be crafted by God's hand, directed by his spirit, and watched over by his son. So what is God to a non-believer? He's still God, but the belief is just different now. And just as a little footnote to all that, I remember when I wrote that piece, and I remember all the feelings and the things that I experienced that inspired that piece. And believe it or not, you would think that something that would bring upon those type of emotions maybe happens once or twice, but it happens several times when you're trying to figure out, you know, your pathway. You know, we talked about this being something that was associated with Earth Day and spirituality and religion. And when I said I learned more from strangers than I learned from those that knew me, one of the things I learned about connectivity of our, not just our spirits to one another, but our connectivity to the planet. People, they have crystals, or they, you know, use certain minerals. And a lot of people who don't believe in those type of things, which I grew up not believing that those things had any power or any merit at all. My sister helped me to appreciate. She said, if these are the things that God made us from, these elements in the earth, in the universe, why wouldn't we try to be connected to these things? And however way we find our way to connect to the earth, to God, to the universe, these are all elements that make us up. And there were times where I was like, you know, I'm not gonna follow any type of religion at all. I'm not gonna worry about spirituality. I'm just gonna do me the best way I can. The more and more I tried to walk away from all of that, the more and more I felt the pull from it. And it wasn't from somebody's religion. It wasn't from some unknown deity. It was the universe. It was the planet. You know, walking through the forest, walking through nature. That's why when she was playing the flute, the first thing I thought about was the forest, because the last time I really felt connected to anything was when I was in Asheville, you know, just taking a nature hike, you know, and that was years ago, but I remember that, and I always wanted to get back to that. So I still have a complicated relationship with religion and spirituality, just trying to find my own way. But one thing I do realize is that regardless of how far we try to travel away from what connects us all as individuals, every time we take a step in the street, through the soil, you know, breathe the air, even though we're worried about this pandemic, that's the connection that we all have with one another.
Yeah, that was so powerful. I feel like I comment on all of these, but honestly, like I felt every word of that. Slash, I think I literally went through that exact kind of spiritual struggle, and it's so hard to like explain that to people from your past, or people, you know, that you grew up around and that you still love and trust. But it's just, I was telling, I think it was my sister the other day, because I went through a major loss of faith, and I do believe in God, but kind of like what you're saying, the belief changes, and I would still identify as a Christian. I still love Jesus to death, but it looks really different. And I feel like, you know, I've told her, I was like, a lot of churches I go, I'm scared to actually say what I actually think about God, because I don't know how they're going to react. And when you go through that loss of faith, you get pushed out of the very community that, I mean, that was your whole social, is your whole framework of like understanding your world. And so it's such a loss of like, it's not just a loss of, one belief system. It can feel like a loss of everything in one. And so that emotion that you portrayed in that is just like so real, and you put it into words so beautifully. And I just, thank you for identifying the struggle. That
Thank you.
is real.
Thank you.
It's real.
I feel you. I really do.
Yeah.
I'm a twin, and my twin is still a Jehovah's Witness, and I really went through a real struggle trying to accept that, and just my connection to her is unparalleled to any other connection I have with anybody else. And my parents just did not understand that. They were like, I don't understand. You made your decision to do your thing. She made her decision to do her thing. And I had to just make peace with that. And once I made peace with that, I made peace with a lot of other things that I felt like I had conflicts, even in other relationships with other people. And I think that when I was putting the book together, you're editing so many different pieces and you're trying to figure out what goes in there. And one of the people who helped me edit the book was like, that has to go in there, because there's going to be one or two people that might read that might be going through the same thing that you're going through, or just something similar that touches them in a way that you may not be able to understand. And to be honest with you, you are the first person who has heard that piece and has said anything that's like, yo, I feel you. I mean, there's people that I know that have gone through that struggle.
Yeah.
And they're like, yo, dope piece. But they've never articulated how it made them feel. And to hear you express the way you felt about that really touches me. So I really appreciate that.
You're welcome. Thank you for sharing it. Honestly, it's so powerful.
You guys are awesome.
No kidding.
Okay, all right.
You planned all this, didn't you, Dallas?
No, not even
Planned
a
it
little bit.
exactly.
I just picture people reading poems. Oh, okay. So I don't want to ignore anybody in the space. Mary, I don't know if you're an artist, if you're a poet. Are you a poet? You nodded a little.
Yeah, so actually I'm a scientist, poet, and a minister. But I had not anticipated sharing tonight. I just wanted to sort of get a feel of what this was all about. So, and I was trying to get my friend Deborah to get on, but she's not here because she's amazing. But as all are you guys are. But if you're going to continue on with this, I would certainly be willing and wanting to share, but not tonight. I guess what I'm trying to say.
I can respect that. I will invite you, Mary, to drop your information. You can, if you do the chat box, and if you don't want to share it to everybody, just put it to my private and I can pick that up.
Okay, great, thanks.
Rick, I've never heard you bust out in a rhyme or a poem.
Oh, you're not gonna get a rhyme from me, but I can cheat off somebody else. I actually pulled up a prayer that I like a lot, so I can read that if that works for everybody.
Hey, if everybody's down with ending on a prayer, I'm good with that.
Well, so this is a minister that used to be at our church that I think a lot of, and so I'll read his prayer. So we pray this morning, and this is not morning, but we'll say this evening. Gracious God, for those who are burdened not by too little, but by too much. Those of us who have so much power that we have grown indifferent to the basic needs of others. Those of us who have so much health that we cannot understand the sick or come to terms with our own mortality. Those of us who have so much wealth that we prize the possession more than people. Those of us who have so much knowledge that we have grown proud and self-sufficient and lost the common touch. And those of us who have so much community that we cannot understand the ache of being left out. Claim us this hour with your compassion. Claim us this hour to be compassionate. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, guys.
Amen.
Thank y'all.
Amazing.
Thank you.
You guys be blessed. You touched my heart, every single one of you. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you
If
for
we do
having
it
it.
again, yeah, loved it.
Beautiful.
Speechless.
Thank y'all so much.
All right, Mary, I
Definitely feel
got you.
connected. Y'all fed my spirit tonight. Thank you.
Yeah. Y'all gonna have to leave, y'all. Y'all can't
Yep.
just sit here looking at each other all
All right.
night.
Well, I just want to say thank you to everybody who shared and commented. I'm glad I logged on. I almost didn't, but Dallas, thank you very much for the invitation, and I hope we are able to do it again.
Yes.
I'll take that into consideration, definitely. I can't.
Thank y'all.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. It's amazing.